This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, December 26th, 2018, episode 206. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. And you can check out our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. It is the day after Christmas, and we are. I think this is the first time we've done a day after Christmas special. But he's looking very festive, ladies and gentlemen, from the great state of Boise, Idaho. Brian with an I. What's going on, Brian?
Hello, and hopefully everybody had a Merry Christmas. Also, if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, check out my blog, biteoftech.com. And of course, our website, if you're looking for past show notes that we've done, if you're looking how to get with us on Discord, we'll be talking about a game that just recently came out that we've been playing a lot. If you want to join us in that, the first step would be to join us in our Discord. So if you go to our website, click on the right-hand side, there's a button for it. It's a free app. They have a mobile desktop version, very easy to use, and that's the best way to hang out. It's a great way to suggest news to us as well. If you'd like to post news in our news channel or just banter throughout the week. So other than that, I think that's the only ways you need to get a hold of me. And yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yes,
it's a different day than normal.
I know it's a Wednesday, and it's the day after Christmas, which normally we do the show before Christmas, but last week's show was 7 days before Christmas, which is a little weird. So we're here. Hopefully, everybody have a Merry Christmas. Did you get anything good, Brian? What did old Saint Nick bring you for Christmas?
I don't know if you can notice up in this. Let's see up right there.
Yeah, what is that?
It's a video card. I got a 1080.
Ooh, a 1080 for Christmas. Very nice. Congratulations.
And then I got a bunch of other. I got socks. My wife likes to get me socks.
Yeah, that's an old standby gift is socks, right?
Yeah, and then we're going to be going to Hawaii here in a couple months. So my wife got some stuff.
You bringing me too, so right? So we can do a remote version of Infection.
Yeah, we'll stuff you in the suitcase.
Infection on the road. We'll road trip.
But we'll have to figure out when that happens. We'll have to figure out how that episode works.
We'll get it figured out.
I'm getting back like on a Thursday.
We'll make it happen. I'm not concerned.
Yeah. We'll make it. We'll work it out.
Joe offered to fill in if we ever had a situation in which you couldn't or I couldn't be here. So maybe Joe can host the show. He said
Joe would be here for the first 5 minutes, and then he
said he'd co-host, but he wouldn't talk. I'm like, well,
that's great.
And you're not.
Would he be on camera at least?
I'm not sure. I mean, we have to figure that out.
That's probably debatable as well.
Well, speaking of Joe, I want to thank him for resubscribing to us on Twitch, and our friend UGX Vibe, who subscribed right after we finished the show last week with the message, "Oops, missed the cast again." Literally, as I clicked stop streaming last week, he subscribed with that. So thanks to UGX Vibe and our friend Joe and everybody else, all of our other Twitch subscribers. We really do appreciate it. All right. Well, it's a Christmas show. I think the Christmas shows aren't typically go through news and read through news shows, but we're going to talk about some games that came out. We're going to talk about first before we talk about our experience last week. Well, no, let's do that first, I guess. Let's talk about Miscreated, Brian.
Yes.
We played Miscreated 1.0 last week, the long-awaited Miscreated update. And I thought we knew what we were getting into, right? I mean, this was supposed to be the new and improved, and I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying this is supposed to be the new and improved Miscreated, the finished game, the polished, the not alpha version of the game. And I don't think you and I have even talked about this yet.
No.
So, what were your thoughts on Miscreated 1.0? We played for probably 4 or 5 hours on Friday night, and then I played for a couple hours on Saturday.
Yes. So so first of all, one new thing is they set up they have the ability for you to do private servers.
Yep.
So we set up our own server for game night. So we did leave it open to the public, but there are so many public, we didn't really get people randomly dropping in because there's so many private servers right now. And so we put it on our own server, and we just kind of treated it how we've done the rest. We dropped in and tried to group up, tried to loot up, run around, checked it out. Now the weather system, I do like the weather system, the variance in weather. I was able to kind of flip it around just to get some ideas so we could see the transitions and how everything worked. I don't know if you have any good video of that,
Yeah, I'm trying to
but
scope through
they have
that.
a nice snow effect now. Um, they have the I didn't really make it go to the nuclear because I don't want to kill everybody, fallout type of thing. But then they have, different variations of rain. I did make it so that there would be tornadoes, but I didn't see where those were at. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly. We saw there was like a siren that went off now when that happens, but I didn't see the actual the tornado anywhere. So, but one thing that I found kind of frustrating was I didn't really get to see a lot of the new stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't really see any of the weapons. I didn't see any of the other vehicles. Um, I didn't well, of course, the skins, we didn't see any skins in game. Didn't really see any new clothing, and we didn't get a chance. We didn't even get close to base building
You know,
in the 5 hours.
Brian, if I needed to describe our experience in Miscreated 1.0 in one word, the word I think I'd use would be underwhelming. I
Yeah.
think that's a pretty accurate word to describe our experiences in 1.0.
I
I
don't
think
think
we've
it's
been,
because the game is bad. I think it comes down to the balance. I think they should really look at what they did in what became Just Survive in H1Z1, the original one. The level of loot, the difficulty level, like that, even though the game had so many bugs and had so many problems, that difficulty level was right on. And so I just think that that would have been a lot better because we ran around, I mean, 5 hours and we really didn't have anything to show for it.
now,
And we were trying to do everything we could.
and again, I think we've made it pretty clear in the past. Miscreated is a harder core survival game in the realm of the games that we talk about. So I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think that they need to go ahead and change a whole bunch of stuff. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, Brian. Having not played the game for a couple of months, by the way, Gadlow's taking part in our drinking game. You mentioned Just Survive. You got to take a shot. So take part in that. But I'll say this, Brian. Overall, if somebody said to me, "Hey, I played Miscreated 8 months ago, and I just
Yeah.
heard 1.0 is coming out. Should I play it?" I thank you, Green Man, for the subscription. I think I'd say no, because frankly, unless you are going to make this your main game
Your
that you
only game. Yeah.
play, which is we've done that in the past. We might be doing that with the game that we're talking about right now. We did it with Ark. We did it with Conan. We played Conan religiously for a couple of weeks. If we were
Yep.
going to do that with Miscreated, I'd say probably. But I don't think they polished the beginning aspects of the game enough where I would tell somebody, you have got to go and play Miscreated 1.0. A game that did do that was Conan. Their 1.0 update was totally different than their previous game. And they are, in my mind, and you may disagree, but in my mind, they are the benchmark for a successful alpha to 1.0 release. They
Yeah.
nailed it.
Well, and that's something that with this, I think it wouldn't take much. Like the map is beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything worked well as far as running around the world and doing everything. I mean, everything worked from what I remember. The bikes were the main thing was the bikes were buggy. I mean, that was something that if you got off, and of course, it's not just because it's in 1.0, it's still, I think it's 1.0 beta. So it's not done being worked on, but the bikes, and this is a lot of changes. They did so many changes. I don't expect everything to work day one because people will find things. The bikes were buggy, but I think a lot of it is not the actual programming of the game and the level design of the game. I think they just need to, well, if they could have let us adjust some of the difficulty levels of the server, that would have helped. Where we could have maybe bumped up loot or done something to make it to where we could kind of have that more casual experience where we can just discover the game. But even in the admin commands, there's nothing to spawn anything in. There's nothing to adjust how the game plays itself. So that made it really difficult. We had to do it for us playing on that server. It was pretty much identical to playing on a public server. Like there was no benefit of us other than we didn't have, random people coming in and killing us. We didn't have any kind of benefit of having a private server, which
Well,
that you normally would have.
and I think we should be clear with that. We played on a private server so we could do some of that exploration, and not have to worry about getting
About people
PvP to
killing us
death.
through the whole
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So maybe that wasn't the right idea. I mean, we try to do private servers for game nights when we can. Maybe we should have played on a public server. I don't know the answer. We did what we always do in Miscreated, which was get together and restore a vehicle and spend all of our time doing that. We did that and then everybody logged off.
Yeah, and we didn't get anywhere. We didn't get to the point where we could gather lumber to build a base. I mean, we weren't even close. And it wasn't that we were like messing around and not, we were trying. It was just such a grind that we just could not get there.
I was trying to get some video of that little generator to at least get some electricity in any of the houses. I couldn't find. None of us ever found a generator. It was
Well, we found a generator, but we couldn't get it. Like we couldn't get all the rest of it to get it going. Like I think Musty found one, but then he died before he
okay.
got it to us.
Yeah. So, and Gadlaw's kind of echoing the same thing. Miscreated, very underwhelming. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's what's so frustrating about Miscreated with me is the game itself. The idea and the base are so
All the pieces of
solid.
the puzzle are there.
They're solid. Like the foundation is rock solid. It's got everything it needs to be an amazing game. And it is a very good game, but it's like it's dry. It's just very dry. It's very underwhelming. And I don't frankly know what the hell they can do to fix that. I just don't know. Maybe it's that there's no punching trees and crafting things. I mean, maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
The fact that we playing for 5 hours could not get to the point to where we were even ready to start cutting down trees to start on a base. That is part of the problem. We had one of our players, Musty, who said, 3 hours into it, he's just like, I'm bored. I want to go do something else.
Yeah.
We got him to stick around a little bit longer, and we started having got it to where I think he was having a little more fun. But if in the first 3 hours the player's saying, you know what, nothing has happened yet, that's a problem. So and part of it's starting from scratch. I mean, most of them are public servers to where it will just go, you're jumping into where there's other people with bases and stuff's already going on. We started totally from scratch, but it should be fun with that even. And then Nisco brings up, don't talk about the darkness. Like the night was so long and all I could do was keep the admin panel open and then switch it to daytime after it was just dark for so long because there wasn't a setting. I mean, I tried adjusting the setting to make night faster and it didn't seem to work. Yeah. So I just switched it to daytime all the time at the end just so that we could continue doing things.
You know what I think Miscreated needs? I think they just need some TLC. I mean, realistically, the game just needs a little bit of pizzazz. I think the word I'm going to use is dry, Brian, to describe it. It's just a little dry.
Do you think it's too realistic?
Maybe it's too realistic. I mean, that's a real possibility.
I mean, everything is, and like when I look at games and like, I think, oh, how should a game be? I have that same issue. I want it to be as realistic as possible.
But realistic sucks.
But there's a point. See there. Okay, so there's one of the. Actually, we did find the buggies. I take that back. So of the new vehicles, we did find the buggies. The truck was something that we had before, and the buggy. We were able to get some buggies going. We drove into town at the very end, and I think that's when Musty started having more fun. Is when we started driving around. But I think. Yeah, I think that is part of the problem is they're trying to go for so realistic because probably some of their ties are to Arma where it's a realistic simulator. But I think that with a zombie game, there's got to be at least have a mode. This would be a good, if you had modes right now would be the good hardcore mode. hardcore, but then tailor it down to where you have a more different casual modes that people can
Mm,
play,
I like that.
so that you have an easier mode that you can play on and not feel like you're doing a 5-hour grind. And because we don't even think about PvP because bullets are so rare. It's like we're not going to run around and just shoot zombies all the time because it took us 5 hours to get these bullets. I'm
I
not
don't
going to
even believe.
you.
I don't think I found a gun the entire. I had a gun at one point, but when the last spawn that I had, where I played for the longest, and I'm looking at my inventory right now, I didn't have a gun, and I don't think I found a gun.
I found guns, but I couldn't find the right ammo that matched up to the particular guns I had. So
I
I had a couple different ammo types, and then I had a gun that maybe I don't remember if I ever did have bullets for. I think I did get bullets for one pistol.
You nailed it, Brian. I think you nailed it. They need a hardcore and a casual, a filthy casual mode in this game,
Yeah.
where at time everything is 3x or something like that, and they
Just so that
spawn.
it speeds up that time to where you don't feel like everything, because I know they want it to feel the realism part is we want it to feel like ammo is rare. I understand that the meaning behind that. They want to feel like that is a precious item. But not everybody can spend 6 hours running around to get to the point to where, oh, now I'm powerful. Like just some people want to run around and shoot and kill things and shoot people. And like you can't have that kind of a mode in here because it's so difficult to get back after one death.
Well, we'll talk about this later on in the program with current players. We'll go through all the numbers, but I think it's pretty obvious based on their whole player base, that it does not cater towards casuals. A game like
Yeah.
Ark, which has, as long as we've been doing talking about and covering Ark, since Ark has been out, there has always been a solid group of 20 to 40,000 players. Most of the time in the 30s or 40s, sometimes even 50s. Oh, it's always existed. And I think that's the casual player that plays the game. I mean, there are games, and I feel like Miscreated is one of them, that if you want to play it, you need to play a couple of hours every single day. Which, here's the thing, Brian, we're forgetting something. If that's the audience that they're tailoring it to and for, then I don't think there's a problem at all.
Yeah.
But if we're comparing this, the closest thing I can compare this to is Just Survive. I mean, it's a lot like Arma. Obviously, it's a lot like Arma in its movement system, and the scroll wheel is the menu system, and all this other stuff. But I Just Survive is the only other very successful zombie game that I can compare this to, and they're not on the same level of game. But it's just, I think it's what a lot of people compare to. Maybe it's just us. Maybe we're the oddballs out here.
Well, I think that, I mean, if they're looking just to pick up numbers, because I understand, as I said, I understand they want to have that mode, but make available to the players because that's a niche audience. They're tailoring it to the most niche audience there is.
Well, it's obvious that it's niche, Brian. I mean, we've been talking about the game now for a year and a half, 2 years, and they don't have any more than 2,000 people ever playing the game.
But
I mean, it's blatantly obvious.
Really consider opening it up because it's such a beautiful world. There's so much there, but to the average player, it's just too overwhelming. It's too hard for them.
I like that. Overwhelming. You're right. It is very overwhelming. There's not enough inventory to do realistically anything, but from the start, unless you get lucky and find a bag. Overwhelming and underwhelming. It's overwhelming, and it's what do we call it at the beginning? The hump, the original hump that you've got to get over, and then it's underwhelming. I left, I think it was Saturday morning by the time we were done playing, and I just went to bed and I was like, meh.
But the thing is if we would have gotten to the point where we were building a base if we had managed in that 5 hours to get to the point where we had a base and we were making that serious progress, we would not be saying underwhelming.
Saturday morning, I would have been in there.
Fun. Yeah, we would have said it was so much fun. But the fact that we got to that point and we still didn't have a base, that's what makes it underwhelming because we just feel like I accomplished nothing. I have nothing but some gear that I could instantly lose. I didn't accomplish anything in that whole time. That makes it underwhelming. That's the difference between, I mean, do you want to go over any of the actual notes of what they did? We showed a lot of pictures and things for the last number of weeks.
Yeah,
they put out their official kind of abbreviated patch notes here.
Yeah, let's go over the let's go over the abbreviated. I mean, that's kind of the base stuff here.
Okay, so we talked about last week that Iron Suns DLC. So that gives you those exclusive skins and some music and just pretty much the fan. If you're a fan of of Miscreated, it's a way to show some support to the developers. You get some cool things as well. So that's a DLC that's available. The course that we talked about the self-hosted servers. So this is something that you can run on your own computer, and you can host a game. There are very limited. I tell you, there's very limited admin controls. So if you think it's something to where, I just want to see all aspects of the game, so I'm going to spawn in all the materials to do base building and see how flexible the base building is, that is not going to happen. There is no spawn in anything command. There's no up loop command. There's really only basic server management commands in there of restart, change the weather, or change the weather, maybe change a few things with some zombie things. I mean, I can't think of too much else that there is in there. It's just basic stuff. They also have the 20 new weapons, which, as we said, we didn't really get to even see. But we didn't really make it into the main city. And that's one thing, is because it's so new. I don't know if there's certain regions that have more. Like if we would have gone to the city, would we have seen a lot of these new weapons?
Probably.
But the thing is we didn't really make it up there. I guess we could have with our buggies, if that would have been our only goal, was to go up there and do that. We could have. They have all the new weapon skins, which get awarded randomly as you play. But did you get a single weapon skin during the 5 or 6 hours?
No. Now, one thing I did, I don't want to derail you on your notes. But one thing I did do, is collect the money, the cash system for those the vending machine storage.
Yeah, the
things.
coins for those.
Coins, yes. That was a cool mechanic, and those are pretty prevalent in the world, I would say, or abundant in the world, maybe.
Yeah, I came across one at least.
Yeah.
As far as I came across the coins, but I came across one of the kiosk sections.
Yeah, I think I saw two. It looked like convenience stores, and there's just little kiosks inside. It looks a little out of place.
And so
to be
once
honest.
again, that's an option for the hardcore player. That's
Yeah.
something that for you to even touch that, you have to play probably hundreds of hours to where you have enough to make it valid. I mean, if every day as you're playing through, you're picking up coins, you build up over time a decent amount. Short of that, you're not really going to be using it. If you just play casually and you go from server to server, you will never have enough. And if you're not storing them in a place, here's the big problem. If you don't have a base where you can actually store them, you lose them possibly when you die, because they're not stored anywhere. So it's either a use it or lose it quickly type of scenario, or build a base to where you're storing them somewhere. They do say here 100% finished map. They have these underground bunkers, which we didn't really get to see. We did go underground in one little area.
Oh, yeah, I think I got a recording of that. I went somewhere,
but we didn't get to see. It says 2 new huge underground bunkers. I don't think that those are the ones we saw.
No.
Because that one wasn't huge. I think that was just kind of an underground, not a bunker.
It was like a sewer system.
Yeah. So we went into here, but it didn't really go beyond this. So, see, it goes around the corner. There's, I think, 2 rooms.
Yeah, 2 little like holdouts that people were in, and then this is the main.
But I don't think that's the ones that they were talking about.
No, I don't think so either.
So, and then the weather patterns. So they had the acid rain, the blizzards, and the snow. I think they did a good job of the snow effect.
I agree.
It starts to snow, and over time the ground starts to get covered. I think they did a really good job on that. The temperature system is in there now, so you have to pay attention to heat. You have to pay attention to what you're wearing. So you don't want to wear too warm of clothing when it's really hot outside, or too cold of clothing when it's cold. So they had the new base building parts, which, as we said, we didn't even get close to that. They had the farming system. Once again, we didn't get to a point where we didn't even get close to that. The interactive world, which would be the doors opening and closing, and powering the houses. We didn't get I did get to see, okay, here's an oven. I can see that you interact with it, but we never were able to power it on. Um, but I think the doors, having the interactive doors and everything, I do appreciate that more. I don't like it when you go to a place and there's no doors in the whole world, or they're all always open. So it helps some. They did a lot of bug fixes and they redid that whole consumable system. I don't know that we really need to go in that, other than some things, for instance, sodas. You pick up a soda and there's a chance that it might be was it irradiated?
Yep,
That's
radiated.
the right pronunciation. And if it was, then you need to not drink it because it'll poison you. So you have to really pay attention to what you picked up, because it's kind of a random system. Uh, Not 100% random, in that if it's in a place that probably had radiation, it had a chance of having radiation. If it was underground or in a place that was safe, then you didn't have to worry about it. So, um, and then yeah, filling up they did have to where you could fill up your canteen. Do we have too much issue getting water?
No, there's
I
enough
don't
water in the
remember
world, and
water being crazy.
there's enough water in the world, but then there's also enough. Even if you have to drink radiated water, there's enough of the tablets or whatever to get rid of the radiation effects. So no,
Yeah.
I don't think we died of food or water like we did previously, which was something pretty common in this game. Was like, I'm out of water and food. See you
Yeah.
later. Like, time to respawn.
Yeah, we were finding food and things. I mean, I felt like that balance was there.
I
It's
agree
just
totally.
we couldn't find loot. So the food aspect was good. Um, but the rest of the loot of finding guns and weapons and all that stuff, that just seemed really, really hardcore. So I think that was pretty much miscreated. I want to go back in at some point and just say we're going to the city. I hope they will add some sort of admin command so that we can do a sightseeing adventure and just explore everything.
Yeah.
Take people and say, we're going to the city. We're just going to walk through and just experience it. Because right now we can't, because we're walking in there and there's mutants everywhere. And it's just, ugh, we die. And then it's just, okay, starting over. And then people are like, I'm going to go. When I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I want people to run around because there's so much cool stuff that's in this game that it's just so hard to see.
And speaking of Miscreated, it's on sale, and there's a whole bunch of games that are actually on sale throughout the Steam Winter Sale. And I say I'm not a liar. You can't say I'm a liar. I posted a little thing up on the website, the 2018 Steam Winter Sale list. There's a whole bunch of games on there. Miscreated is on here. I want to say it's $15, something like that.
$15, I think. Yeah.
Excuse me, it's $20. It's 20% off.
Oh, okay.
So here's the question I'll ask you, Brian. Do you buy Miscreated at $20?
If you're an Arma player, I would say yes. If you're the type of person who enjoys that kind of mechanic of hardcore, like it takes you all afternoon to do certain things, then yeah. I mean, for that type of a player, I think it's the perfect balance. But if you're somebody, I mean, or even, do you think even a Rust player? I think a Rust player might even, short of the base building is not there, but the running around and doing PvP,
I think
I think they might
I
like
think
it.
anybody that is looking for a game that they can devote a couple of hours a day into needs to look at Miscreated. If you
Yeah.
are somebody that is interested in a game that you can play maybe on the weekends or like Friday and Saturday night, which is what realistically what a lot of people only can do. I mean, they have jobs,
Yeah.
they have kids. Like, it's not an option to, you know, not everybody is like me, 21, and after work can just come home and not do anything for the rest of the evening. If
Yeah.
you're looking for a Friday and Saturday night game, Miscreated isn't it, in my opinion. Now,
But if you're
maybe if you're
willing to put in that time, that daily time to where you are working towards, okay, I'm getting my base built, got some storage here, building up supplies, like, and this, when I'm saying these things, that's what you're doing over those days of time, then yeah. But if you're the, as you said, the casual player where you're playing Friday and Saturday night, every time you come back, your base will be gone if you even started one.
I know.
Every time you come back, like you'll probably die, lose all your stuff at least every weekend.
I just
So just be prepared for that.
I don't know why. Maybe they're just not interested in the audience. We are going to be talking to the developers, and believe me, we will unequivocally, without a doubt, be asking them questions like this. Because it really does kind of boggle my mind. We have been doing this show now for 506 weeks.
Yeah,
We are going on 4 years?
206 weeks.
206 weeks. We're going on what? We're going on 4 years in January, February, I think. There is still yet to be a popular mainstream zombie game like H1Z1, which was the beginning of all of these games. Now, the real beginning was the DayZ mod in like 2012, but after that, after War Z and all that, H1Z1 kind of sparked the flame, and bam, went the zombie game phase. Everybody was playing zombie games. There still isn't a game that fits that bill. And again, this is opinion, folks. If you don't agree, it's fine. I'm not asking you to agree or disagree with me.
I think even if you disagree, like let us know, because that's the kind of, if you're like, I think you're missing the mark on what you're saying, I want to hear it.
Absolutely.
I think that we're looking at the average person's point of view, and we are recognizing that there are people that want that specific thing. If you think that somehow that's not correct, I mean, I'd love to hear your opinion on it, because I don't see how it can be seen any other way than this. The Summit, he actually sent out a tweet talking about, he says this genre is so open right now.
Yeah,
He's
what
like,
did he say? Let me find his tweet.
There was a tweet, and it was pretty much specific, and there were people that were saying miscreated, but for him, he can't play this game on stream. It just,
God, no.
He can't devote 6 hours to getting a backpack and a gun, and driving and getting a vehicle, like, and being as hardcore as it is, he can't stream it, because on a public server, especially, because people would come in, take all his stuff and blow everything up and kill everything constantly, and it's just, the grind would be too much. He could get away with things like this in Just Survive.
Is this the tweet that you're talking about? It says, an open world PvE/PvP game. Such a huge market for a game is wide open and nobody is pursuing it. Stop making BRs. This is the type of game you should be on. Go look at Dark Zone on Division and make your whole game with that core in mind. And I'm scrolling through this, and I see a couple of miscreated tweets, and he even responds to somebody that is somebody posts a picture of Miscreated. He responds to it, and then the guy himself makes fun of the fact that he's running a server with one person on it, and saying, no doubt, I died the second I started making progress after 5 hours. This is in a thread that Summit was tweeting on,
which was our exact experience. 5 hours, and you just start to barely get traction.
So
it just needs to be softened a little bit.
It's so frustrating, because Brian, you look at it, and all of the core pieces are there. It looks like I haven't experienced it, so I can't say one or the other. It looks like it's got a freaking awesome base building or land claim, taking over an already existing structure system in there. Solid concept in the game itself. The AI is not bad at all. There's plenty of weapons in the world. The world is beautiful, cool weather system, awesome vehicles. It's got all the cool stuff that you need in a game, but it just misses the mark on the casual player. You're right. How is Summit going to stream this game?
He can't.
Which is why you look at 1,000 people playing the game at any given time.
Imagine if they just tweak, and that's the thing, if they just tweaked it a little bit, if they tweaked it just a little bit, it would be a game that Summit could stream. If he could gear up in 30 minutes to an hour, he would stream it. Because he can run around, he can talk to the stream, he could get a gun, he could then start, finding people and shooting them, and talking to people in game and just kind of doing, that stuff that he used to do with Just Survive. And if he did that, he would say, "Hey, that was fun." But the thing is, he can't, because you couldn't possibly in an hour's time get to the point to where you're running around and able to waste bullets. And there's not enough players. I mean, if he jumped on the server and people knew what server it was, like they would instantly be coming at him. You'd have to have a server that's very populated anyways, which there are servers right now that are populated. So, but if they just made it a little easier, people would play it.
This game has been out since 2014. Would you know that the all-time player peak in 2014, 4 years the game's been out, the all-time player peak is 4,500 people
Yeah.
concurrently?
And there's a lot of people that own it.
Yeah, according to this, there's like between 500,000 and a million owners on Steam. But at any given point, it was not more than 4,595 people playing. That is a huge problem. If Summit or Doc or Lyric or a Shroud, if one of these big streamers is playing a game, instantly you could have an influx of a couple thousand players in your game. They could, if one of those guys played this game, there is a chance that they could hit, if not overcome, this all-time peak.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to me.
I think it's probably they have some people that are they probably have a developer or whatever on their team, someone who says, "I want this to be hardcore. This is a hard game." And they just won't budge from it. Someone who's one of the key decision makers, and most likely is just saying, "You know what? This is how it is." And how are you going to overcome that? Like, if they're making that decision and making that call, short of someone convincing them otherwise, I mean, it would be nice that they listened and they heard us saying this and we're like, maybe we will consider doing a test of some casual server and just see what happens. Like, it would be nice, because I don't know how else would you get them just to even try it. Like, it's got to be that someone, because they've had to have, someone in that whole team has had to have thought of this before.
Oh, they're smart. They're all very intelligent people. They all, I mean, they all know what they're doing. They're not just a bunch of idiots running around making a video game. They're very cognitive of what they're doing. And
I think it's got to be someone who's making the call, says we want it to be hardcore, but at the sacrifice of what? If you can't sell enough,
players, there's your sacrifice, Brian. 5,000 players, there's your sacrifice.
But
you want a hardcore game?
Continue paying? Like, if they can't make more sales, are they going to be able to continue the game and keep these guys employed? That's my concern.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I understand you want to hold your guns and be hardcore, but like, I want to see this game. I want to see it popular. I have nothing against the game. I brought it up originally. I think I was one of the first people who said, in the podcast, to say, "Have you guys played Miscreated? This thing's beautiful."
I'm sure you were. There's not a doubt in my mind that this is a game that you thought was good, that you thought had a lot of potential. It doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah. And that was 4 years ago. That was 3 years ago, Brian.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I wanted it. I was like, this game is beautiful. Like, it's all there, but it's just that hasn't changed. I mean, with this 1.0, I think if they would just take that little bit and move it forward, I'd be really interesting to see where the game goes.
I was expecting a whole new game with 1.0, similar to what we kind of experienced not too long ago with 7 Days to Die Alpha 17, or the Alpha Beta 17, whatever, the pre-Alpha 17. A whole new game, totally different game. It felt nothing like previous version. It obviously it did. The base of the game was still the same, but it felt like a totally new game compared to previous 7 Days to Die games, or previous versions of 7 Days to Die. This Miscreated, again, we played for 5 hours on a private server on a Friday night. So if we're making too rash of a judgment, or we don't have all the pieces, please do let us know. But in that amount of time, I felt like I was just. It felt, frankly, it could have been an older version. I wouldn't have even known. I don't think we experienced.
Up to the point, there was very little other than the weather, and then the buggy. Other than that, and we got to see that, okay, you can open doors. You could interact with the stove, a microwave, even though we didn't get there. But Like we just saw from the outside these new features, but we couldn't get to them, is what it felt like.
There's a comment in
So
chat that a fresh-faced Brian discussed his immersion in Miscreated.
that was,
Many,
yeah, that's where you first heard that.
many moons
Because that
ago.
was that game where I said this game, for me, the immersion is where it's at. Like I go in there and it's a beautiful world. And you're running around, it just felt so realistic. It was so ahead of its time for what it was able to do with the world. I mean, the Marco, their level designer, has done a phenomenal job with this world. Beautiful.
And it's a shame, and why we're so frustrated about it is because we we like the game, and there's just not enough people playing it. Like,
Well, and as I said, even with a private server, we can't even like create our playground to where we can experience it the way we want to. Like we're still stuck to the server rules, the public server rules on our own private server. Like there's no benefit other than I can make it daytime all the time, and I could make it rain or snow, or that's all I can do.
I know,
It was frustrating for me.
I know after the fact there'll be a tweet or a Discord message or a YouTube comment saying, "Oh, you guys really, you guys really hate on Miscreated a lot."
Absolutely not.
If I hated the game as much as we've been accused in the past of, because we've been so critical of them, of hating the game. Frankly, we wouldn't give it the time of day to talk about it. We've now talked about this game for close to 40 minutes about how we hope and how we wish it would just little things here and there would change. And that, again, we're basing that off our play style, right? There's plenty of people, clearly, there's people that enjoy in its current state because they've been playing the game religiously now for years. But for it
Yeah.
to pick up a mainstream audience, there's got to be some changes in the game. And I like your idea, Brian, a hardcore and a casual server set. Very easy peasy. Just change the way the freaking rules play out on the server. Change the loot spawns. Change the difficulty of the zombies. Make the nighttime much shorter.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be that complicated. Again, I'm not a game developer. I'm not pretending to be a game developer, but it doesn't
And
sound
I've never worked in CryEngine, so it could be a big pain to do some of these things in CryEngine. But I don't think the rule sets would be that difficult to do, personally. I mean, I don't think it can be that hard to make it to where maybe there's a higher chance of being weapons in the world. Like there's got to be a way that they could do that on a rule set.
Yeah, I think they could, and I damn it, I hope. I hope they can get to that point. I would love nothing more for this game to be sitting at 10 to 20, even 30,000 concurrent players all the time. I think they can do it. They've got all the tools and the resources in front of them. And like the Summit tweet says, let me pull back up here. An open world, and open world is, you can take or leave, but a PvE/PvP game, such a huge market for a game, is wide open and nobody is pursuing it. So I think he summed it up beautifully with that.
And that's the thing, is they've got that platform. They've got all the elements. They've got the world. It's all there. They could they could just say, if they just did it, people would see it right away.
I know, it's frustrating. So it's not hopefully. We'll be talking to a couple. I know we've been talking about this for a while now, but I've been traveling the past couple of weeks, and it's Christmas, and they've got time off and whatnot. And they were doing their 1.0 patch. We unequivocally, without a doubt, will be talking to somebody on the Miscreated team on the podcast, and these will be the kinds of conversations we have with them, because frankly, that's what we do here. Anybody that has watched this show, and we haven't interviewed a whole lot of people, but when we do, we ask questions that we sit here and talk about on the show, and we don't come on and fluff them around. It's just not going to happen. We've got to figure out why the hell.
That's one thing I brought up. I said, for one thing, we're always very honest on this podcast.
Bingo.
And actually, in the marketing terms, we shoot ourselves in the foot, because
all the time.
If you looked at what people normally do when it comes to this sort of a business, is they will cater to, and they'll just try to say, whenever a place is maybe going to offer them money or do something to their benefit, then they'll say, "Oh, this game is so great," or "You got to check this out." We're just very honest every time, and sometimes that comes back to bite us.
But hey, but let's look at this realistically. And I don't want to sit here and toot our own horn because I think that's ridiculous. But you and I are just, we're just friends that played video games and we're like, hey, let's do a podcast about this video game. And I mean, that's how it happened. There was no previous agenda with this whole thing. So we've kind of kept the same attitude. And we know for a fact that has our honesty on this show and our criticism has bitten us in the ass multiple times with multiple games, including the Miscreated folks who were, we believe at one point, pretty pissed off at us based on some comments we made about their kiosk
That was
system.
the coin system. Yeah,
I said it was stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was taken very well. But nevertheless, we're not going to sit here and we're the Jim Acosta of gaming interviews, as Locklar is saying in the chat.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to, and our friend Gadlaw's on Twitter here saying, Just Survive is dead and dead the way it lived in confusion. Listening to Infection Podcast discussing zombie survival games and how Miscreated barely misses the mark. So thanks for that, Gadlaw. And you can follow us on Twitter at InfectionCast. That's where we've been tweeting out. That's how you would have known the show was live today. It was on Twitter. Tweeted out a couple days ago, 2 times today, that we were going to be live here on a Wednesday. All right, Mr. Aldridge. Since it's the Christmas show, why don't we do a game giveaway of just, you've got a whole bunch of games. Why don't we just do a secret Santa giveaway? So you'll just enter for a giveaway and Brian will send you a unspecified number of games because we've got so many of them.
So we'll do no entry fee on this one.
Yeah, bingo. There we go.
Should we make it only followers?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anybody that wants to enter.
Follow us.
That's fine. We can do that.
We'll make that. We'll be sticklers.
Brian's got to get all the money for. Brian's got to get the followers up so that the game developers take us seriously.
All right. So I'm just making sure I set this up correctly.
And we're just gonna give away a whole boatload of games.
We'll go through this. Yep. Exclamation point giveaway in chat. We'll open that up. And every couple of minutes I'll pull a winner. So just enter.
No. I was going to say just give away a whole bunch of games in one pack.
Oh, so give a bunch to one person.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah. Just like 5 games or 6 games, 7, 8 games. You've got a whole bunch, or you could give to a whole bunch of people. I mean, whatever you want to do.
Well, what we could do is if everybody enters, we'll start giving away stuff too.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, so exclamation point giveaway in chat, and then we will start giving away. We'll see how that works as far as being easy for me to do.
That's why I was trying to keep this easy. Just one giveaway to a whole bunch of people. To give a whole bunch of games to one person.
We'll try it out. We'll see what happens.
All right. It is time. Okay, we got to go way back. It's been a long time since last Tuesday. So we finished up the show last Tuesday, and we were talking about a game called Atlas. And this is a game that their original release was supposed to be an unlisted YouTube video on the ARC channel. Turned out to be a public video that leaked. Their big launch was at the Video Game Awards just a couple weeks ago, and they announced that the game was coming out on the, I think it was supposed to come out on the 12th or the 11th of December, which was like 2 weeks before Christmas. Couple days after that, we get delayed, and the new release date is supposed to be the 19th of December. 7 days ago today. 6:00 Eastern was the rumored time for this release. So the hype is real. People are streaming the countdown screen. There are something like 150 to 200,000 people on Twitch watching countdown clocks and watching and waiting for the hype for this game was incredible leading up to the launch. I mean, we've seen some hype with games like No Man's Sky, but the amount of hype on this game was probably something I'd never seen before. So December 19th, last Tuesday, 6 p.m., everybody is waiting. I cancel
Yep.
my plans Wednesday night so I can be home. Call me a loser if you want. Doesn't matter. I want to play the game. Um, so I could play this game. And 6 o'clock comes, 6 o'clock goes, and we don't have a release. 6:30 Eastern time hits, and there is a tweet revealed from the developers that indicate that something has gone very wrong. They
And this is the
tweet out.
20th, correct?
No, this is the 19th. They
Okay,
tweet
19th.
out a YouTube video called Atlas Extended Length Gameplay Trailer and say Atlas will be launching on Friday the 21st of December. This was at 6:27 p.m. on December 19th. 27 minutes after the game was supposed to be released, they delayed the game by 48 hours. And to say I was pissed was an understatement. I was livid about this, Brian. And I know a whole bunch of other people,
The
including
thing is, they
streamers.
changed it to the 21st, which was supposed to be my birthday. Well, which was my birthday.
Oh, really? Your birthday was supposed to happen?
Well, yeah. Well, I was expecting to play this game.
Your birthday get
on my
delayed?
birthday. It did. It felt like it was delayed.
So 6 o'clock comes, 6:30 comes, and we see this tweet, and the internet erupts. I mean, just uncomprehendable at how this happens. And we'll talk about the game and whatnot, but I really do want to focus on this real quick before we start. If you are making a game, I don't understand how, Brian, at 3 o'clock or noon or 9 o'clock in the morning on the 19th, they didn't know the game wasn't going to be ready, that they had to delay it by 48 hours, not 4 hours, not 8 hours, 48 whole 2-day hours. 2 days, 48 hours. How do you not know at 3 p.m. that, oh my God, the game is literally not going to be ready to play? How? I mean, you're an adult. How does this happen?
For them, they're trying to push to. I mean, okay, so realistically, they're trying to push to a deadline. Like they're like, we have to have this one thing working, whatever it was. We don't even know what it was.
Yeah.
We have to have it working by this point in time. Whatever it was, maybe it was. It sounded like it was connecting to servers was an issue. They just didn't hit it, and they kept not hitting it. I mean, they didn't hit it for how long?
Well, so let's follow the trail. Let's follow the trail here. So 6:30 on the 19th, we get a tweet that it's coming out on the 21st of December. So 21st of December comes. The game's supposed to be released at I think the same time was the time that was talked about. It was another 6 p.m. release. So maybe it wasn't. I don't know what time it was supposed to be released. But here we go on to December 21st, and the patches were supposed to be given to the streamers in the morning.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. On December 20th, which was Thursday, they tweeted out that over the night and tomorrow, we will be sending out invites to the streamers. So this is now Thursday, meaning Friday morning, you will have a copy of the game. Yep. It's not until 3:30 p.m. on Friday that they say that we expect early streaming of Atlas to begin at 9 p.m. Pacific on Friday, which is now Saturday on the East Coast. And I'm sorry, there's lots of dates and times here, but I'm just trying to track this. So now we're on Friday when the game is supposed to be out 6 p.m. Eastern. The game is now supposed to be out for streamers at midnight Eastern. Okay. Well, come almost 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern, a tweet from the Atlas folks that say they're still working on the build for streamers, and they think it will take at least 5 hours before they have the finished version. So 6 a.m., check back in the morning for another update. This is now December 22nd. So morning comes, I want to say like 8 or 9 a.m., they release the streaming version of the game, and that's when all the streamers get in there. And lo and behold, noon Eastern, I think, something like that. the game finally releases on Saturday. So like sometime around noon or noon, 1, 2 o'clock Eastern, the game comes out. So let's follow this again. It's supposed to be out December 11th or 12th, 2 weeks before Christmas. Then they pushed it back to the 19th. Then from the 19th, it got pushed to the 21st, the 21st to the 22nd morning, and the 22nd, no, excuse me, 19th to the 21st, midday, then to the 21st night, midnight, then to the final day it came out, the 22nd, in the middle of the day. A total disaster. Thank you, Valve, for the subscription. Merry Christmas. A total abysmal disaster of a launch. I do not believe we've seen anything like this in our career here of covering video games.
Well,
this was the most atrocious thing.
How many people were watching? Okay, so there were the streamers they were streaming the menu pretty much.
Yep.
And they were having streamers with 14,000 to what?
Way more than that. Some
40,000.
Shroud had like 30 or 40, or somebody had like 30 or 40,000 people. There were 200 at one point. I think Nisco said there were like 327,000 viewers on Twitch at one point.
Yeah, and this was before it launched. This was all people just watching the login screen, people trying to get in. I remember big streamers were in there and seeing, all right, this update's not coming, this update's not coming. Like they were at the screens ready to launch as soon as it was officially launching to stream it all day.
Which is what they do. I mean, that's how
what they do.
It's called getting on the train. And when the train's a rolling, like the new game's coming out, you do what you do and you play that game all day. And then the game doesn't come out.
This was actually benefiting a lot of small streamers because these small streamers were sitting in these menus, and people that normally would get, 30, 40, 50 views were getting thousands of people sitting there and watching them at the screen.
It was nuts.
Yeah, it was really weird. And we got our keys right after it launched.
Yeah, right after it launched.
Frustrating. And because I went and purchased it. And then we got the email for our free keys within like 15 minutes of that.
Yeah.
So I gave that copy to I kept that copy and gave the free one to my wife.
Well, there you go. Well, so
it worked out.
Before we talk about the game itself, and this is probably going to wrap up the remainder of the show. Before we talk about the game itself, how do we not allow this to happen in the future with a launch? I mean, we've never seen anything like this. How does this, first of all, how does this happen? And then second of all, how does it get to this point where you are delaying launches after the launches happen? That was the most frustrating part of me. We've talked about games that have delayed. And by the way, the Ark is notorious for delaying patches at the last second. One of their DLCs that you reminded us of a couple weeks ago literally got delayed by like 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, like a month delay on a month and a half almost. It's ridiculous. So it's not that we should be crazy shocked by this. It's obvious that they set deadlines that they can't hit. Even when you're in game, and we were playing yesterday or the day before, and at noon Eastern they said we're doing an update. At noon we're doing the update at 1. At 1 we're doing the update at 2. At 2 we're doing it at 2:45. At 2:45 we're doing it at 3:30. At 3:30 we're doing it at 4:15. The 12 o'clock noon patch didn't hit until almost 4:30 p.m. How the hell is that possible, Brian? How is that a cultural thing where everything you say is inaccurate in terms of time? You can't hit a single date or deadline that you set. At what point do you say, you know what? Why don't we stop putting these ridiculous deadlines in place? How do you post the updates are going to be done in an hour at noon, and then it's not released until 4:30 the same day? How is that possible?
Well, and for me, like, okay, so here's an issue that I have. Sometimes I say 1 minute. And my wife knows, my wife hates that when I say that.
You said 1 sec to me today when you were joining the thing.
1 sec. For me, that's not a literal time. And so I'm just saying, like, hold on.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
The equivalent of hold on for me.
Yeah.
But the thing is I don't go on and say, all right, we're going to be releasing 1 minute. We're going to be releasing something. And we don't say 1 minute when we're giving a specific piece of information. There's a difference here. I think the problem is they go in and ask the one of the programmers, hey, how long do you think it's ready? It'll be a minute.
It'll be an hour.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
but I just
Well, no, it'll be an hour. Hey, how long until this patch ready? Oh, it'll be an hour. An hour turns into 4 hours in development time. And don't get me
And
wrong,
that's just how it
folks.
works.
We're not oblivious to what game development is. You're working on an issue. Our issue is ships don't work, making something up. As you're fixing ships don't work, you realize, oh my God, this whole system doesn't work either. Or fixing ships now broke this whole part of the game. And now you've got to fix it. Do not take us as ignorant in the fact of, well, if you said the update was going to be done, why isn't it done? We get it. We've been following this long enough. We've played enough games. We get it. We're both techie people. We understand. But how do you set dates and times so precise and then not know right beforehand and be so off? Not off by an hour, not off by 2 hours, but your release on the 19th is 3 days late. How?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, my thing would have been they should have had a stable build much earlier that tested all of the basic functionality. And then those days coming up to launch, are you putting polish and you maybe adding additional non-essential features to the game? I think they saved, like they were doing the vital core of the game up to the last minute. That's the difference.
Well,
you don't save the whole networking and code of all the servers working together for the last day.
And we've got somebody in our community that was part of the original Arc release. And he was part of the volunteer group that tested builds for Arc. And he made the comment to us that as the streamers were getting sent their keys for Arc, they were still trying to push network and server and even client-side builds, like, because things literally were just not working. But they were sending keys out to the streamers and like, here's the game, as they were literally fixing crucial and patching critical issues into the game. And clearly that same thing happened here with Atlas. And the only big difference I can see between Atlas and Arc, at least at this point, and this is from what we have to go off, is they didn't have and didn't do sufficient private testing, which they did with Arc. By the way, the Arc disaster was a launch as well. The Arc launch was a disaster as well. They've got a terrible reputation with this. But they made it up because they made the game so good.
And that's what I keep hoping for this game. I mean, it was. Okay, so do we want to talk about the actual game itself now a little bit?
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to cover before we get into the actual game?
No, I think we hammered on it well enough. I mean, as far as the frustration of, we just wanted to play, and I'm glad that I wasn't sitting there just hitting refresh, thinking, oh, this is going to be in an hour. This is going to be an hour. Like I just said, I'll wait. I'm going to go do other stuff, and when I see that it's up, then I'll jump in and play. When I see people logging in, then I'll be concerned. I wasn't sitting there like all these people wasting a whole Saturday sitting at a screen.
Well, Ducky RB in the chat is saying this happens because marketing team sets deadline and programmers have to make the deadline. I would agree. In a lot of cases, that's probably the case. But this Atlas team, if it's anything like the Arc team, is a very small, in comparison to other games,
big company.
They are a very tight, well-running development team. They're very lean on their on staff, and they're very lean on resources in terms of manpower. And in a big corporation like Activision or Blizzard, you can see where that disconnect happens, right? You've got big PR team, big development team.
There's so many pieces of the puzzles that have to fall together to the end result. Like, it's hard to really judge when will these pieces all finally be fitting.
Yeah,
you've got a limited number of developers. You've got a limited number of art guys. I mean, there's a limited number of everything to where you could ask that small group of 5 to 10 guys, when are you going to have this ready?
Yeah.
We'll have it ready, in 3 weeks. We could definitely do it by 3 weeks. Okay, let's do it in 3 weeks. I don't know if they're even asking them that, because if they're setting this launch day 6 months back, if they decided 6 months back, we're going to have to launch at this time, I really think that is too long of a time to really understand when they're doing so many changes. I mean, this is first of all, it's putting in systems that, okay, they're sitting there and testing and working on so much for Spatial OS, and these guys are just throwing it into this game, and it
It's not
kind of is
spatial.
working.
It's not spatial OS.
This is not Spatial OS, but I'm saying Spatial OS has been testing and working on this tech for
Oh yeah, so
years,
yeah.
and then these guys are like, "Oh, we're just going to throw this in here," and we're at this is like just a new thing that we've developed, and we're not really tested with anything real.
So let's explain then how the whole thing works. So if you launch the game now, there are 4 servers that you can play on, 4 regions that you can play on. There's for US and EU, there's a PvP and a PvE. When you join a server, which is like a big region, inside of that there's a map with a grid. Each grid on the map is its own individual 150 player capped server.
Yes.
So you're joining the server that is your region and your game mode, and then inside of that there is how many regions? I don't know what the math is. What is there? 32 grid? I don't know what the grid spacing is.
I think it was 64.
Okay,
is it 8x8?
I don't remember. No, it's more than that.
So it's 36. I thought. Well, I think there was 36 squares.
I'm not sure. Somebody in the chat knows.
I can pull it up here. I
don't have access to the map here. But it's something like that. So all of those servers are running inside of that big either PvE or PvP or PvE server region, and then you join essentially a region, a number, J8, L3. I don't know if there's an L3. Well, I guess there is. L3, M2, M8, whatever the regions may be. You join into those, and you're in an individual server, but you cross boundaries from I6 to I7, and there's a wall that's in there, and you go through the wall, and then now you're in I6 or I7, whatever region you pass from region to region. Very, very complicated. This is what Spatial OS is supposed to be for. Is games like this, and they've decided to do their own.
Well, there's 225 servers
per thing.
Per region.
That's crazy.
PvP mode.
Yeah. 225 servers.
So each instance, right? Like
each quadrant
North
on the map.
America PvP. Yeah. That would be an instance that consists of 225 servers.
Yes.
And those servers could be they're probably virtualized. It's not like those are 225 servers in a rack.
But they've got 150 players per server, which is a huge.
But it's equivalent of a server instance. There's 225, and that's times 150. That's where you get 33,750 possible players on a map right now,
which is crazy.
And they said that it can go up from there. So I'm assuming what they're probably going to do is work on the tech, try to get it closer to 200 per.
And frankly, you could just add more regions to the map or add more islands to the regions, and now you can.
So didn't they say 4,500 or 45,000? Was that kind of their highest you ever heard?
4,000 plus, according to Steam, is the highest number I've ever seen. 40,000 plus.
But I'm saying 45,000 would be if they had 200 per server.
I've never heard
that's
that
kind of their goal.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
40,000 was what they've been saying for like 40,000. So, somewhere in the range of 175-ish players per server is kind of where they could go. But the problem is, let's explain the limitations of this a little bit.
Yeah,
that's per square. So the only way that could happen is everybody was perfectly dispersed across the whole map. That's not going to happen. I mean, it just doesn't. People couldn't move around if that was the case.
Well, frankly, there's not enough. There's not enough land mass in a lot of these subregions.
We haven't been able to find a single island unpopulated up to this point.
I'm trying to see if I can't pull up a screenshot of kind of what the map looks like in terms of grids and sizes. So here's kind of an example for our video watchers of what the deal is here. And you can see inside of each of these squares, there's like 1 to maybe 4 or 5 land masses, and they're very large land. They're large land masses. They're not like tiny little islands that you can throw a rock across. They're pretty big, pretty significant land masses. That's how but you wouldn't have 150 people in each square. That would be ridiculous. So there's not there. I mean, you'd be on top of every other player. It'd be a mess. So All right, so I derailed you a little bit. You want to talk about the game, but that's how the concept of the game plays. There's spawn regions that are NPC towns that you start in, but
Yes.
outside of that, it's just kind of like open seas essentially, and there's a couple
So-
land masses per server per region.
So day one, the limitation that we ran into is everybody was launching into these small little starter zones. They're kind of little starting cities. They call them free ports.
Yep.
So they have a couple of free ports spread around the map. If you do the math, at the cap of the maximum number of person that could be in a free port, and times the number of free ports they had, the max people that could start day one, launch immediately, was 2,400 people. That was the max. Keep in mind, this is a game that's sitting there having 40,000 people watching login screens, just waiting for someone to be able to play it.
200,000, 200,000 to 300,000 people watching
I'm
on
saying
Twitch.
in one channel, they'd have 40,000 people watching one channel. The max that they could have was 2,400 players at all. I tweeted this. No, for the whole EU PvP, for the whole NA PvP.
Oh, okay.
That whole instance. So that 4 times 2,400 was the max number of people that could play in the first time when it launched. That's it. And so they put out a thing saying, they put out a tweet, and I made a comment. I was like, do you realize you can only have 2,400 people playing at any one time right now? 2,400. And then people started liking my tweet and started saying, you guys need to answer this.
Let's find the tweet. Let's find the controversial tweet on Brian's Twitter.
And so about an hour after that, they put out a notice saying, we're going to be adding more starting zones.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys didn't think of this? No one sat and did the math that only 2,400 people can play?
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Yeah, you got a whole bunch of likes on this tweet, Brian. People were like, what the hell's going on here? Answer this damn question.
I was like, I did the math. I'm like, there's only 2,400 people. No wonder I can't log in. 40,000 people trying to log in right now, at least.
Yeah, Jat's tweet, who was for those of you who are experiencing lost/timeout pending connections, could you join the server via server session list again by selecting a new free port? It should automatically put you in the right server.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so that was the big.
I was like, well, it doesn't matter how many times you click it. Only 2,400 people are getting in.
Yeah.
It was just the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's like winning the lottery, essentially.
Yes. And so with last minute, they add these zones. That created other problems. Okay, they made it to where more people could log in, but you know what? They weren't planning on having people start in these areas. So they started spawning people on islands that didn't have the resources to make a raft to be able to get off the island. So people were stuck on these new starter last minute islands that they made.
Now let's be clear. The islands weren't last minute made. Spawning,
but they weren't spawning. But they weren't supposed to be spawning day one on those islands.
We don't think so. Exactly.
No. So the people were stuck on these islands, short of killing themselves and setting their zone to be somewhere else. They could not get off the islands.
Yes, and I'm not trying to derail you, but I want to explain this for people that haven't played.
Yeah.
So to get started, you need to create a tiny something or other that's like a little dock. Well, you create a tiny little dock, and then with the dock, you can create the raft. The dock itself is pretty expensive, like a couple hundred wood, and the raft itself, same thing, couple hundred wood. And you're doing this alone on an island in which you can't place a chest or a bed or anything like that. And there's a whole bunch of people running around screaming into their microphones and killing you. And there's animals roaming and killing anything and everything. And it's, by the way, it's desyncing like crazy. Like you are shooting across the map. It's a nightmare. So we're all trying to get together in these regions that are not meant to be spawning. And to say it was frustrating was an understatement. It was so unbelievably annoying to be like, I just bought this effing game and I literally can't get anything going. Like I can't even get the supplies to create the first part of the dock that I need to make the raft. Like I can't even get that part started. Like I can't even collect half the materials before some jackass comes over and kills me. It was insane. Oh, and by the way, you could only hit level 8.
Yep. And okay, so you're capped at level 8, which then we're like, there's no way we can get off this island, first of all. And we're level 8. All of a sudden, we can't do all these things. We can't go forward in progress to be able to even start doing more. It was just a huge limitation. And then for us, the island we were on had 2 trees. There were 2 trees that kept respawning. We'd have to wait for those 2 trees to respawn, and then we go get some more wood. If we went over a couple of islands, across the map. But the thing is, you're crossing over so many, because we're on PvP, possibly dangerous people. And so the area we're at, 2 trees, and we're still a lot of people coming on and threatening us. It was just a mess. Like we are glad we did, but we went all out and we got kind of like the middle grade ship.
Well, hold on. Before we
Okay.
get into that, so we figured out the way to actually play the game is to spawn into the Freeport region, in which you can buy a raft for like 40 hide and like some other stuff. Very cheap. Very, very cheap in comparison. So we figured out that's how you play the game. So there we go. We all get together in this Freeport. We got a couple rafts and we sail to
We just
north.
we head out.
We head out and we're all dying on the way over there. I think one person made it there. I think it was you. No, maybe it was Saul.
No, I think
Saul was the only one that made it.
I died
with 2 boats, and we made it up to our starting region now, first block outside of the spawn. And as Brian said, there's a bug in which the resources aren't spawning, and we finally make, after I checked my Steam, I've played 24 hours of the game since Saturday. I don't know how much you've played. You've played probably way more. You played all day yesterday, literally all day.
Yeah.
Like every time I check my phone, you and your wife were playing this game.
Yeah, I've done 30 hours so far.
So that sounds about right. So we have played the living hell out of this game since it's come out. So we met some cool people on our island that were very friendly as well. There were friendly people. Let's not take it at all. Everybody was an enemy. There's a group of guys that are.
But we weren't sure. That was the dangerous part, because there's people that you've allied with. They're alliance. You send them to alliance, and then there's all these red markers, and there's buildings everywhere. I mean, you got to think there's tons of people, and we kept then having these rafts show up on shore. 3 people jump off of them and then try to kill all of us
with no supplies. Like they're just as bad. Like they're just as bad off as we are.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just, and then there's a problem where alpha animals are constantly spawning on the starter island. So our area with 2 trees, we get a level almost 300 wolf that sits there and just keeps running around our area. It's like, what are we supposed to do? We can't even make it to our 2 trees to harvest them, because there's an alpha wolf that will not leave the area alone. It got stuck underneath of we're building a ship. It gets stuck underneath the platform to build the ship. And we're worried that it's going to destroy the platform that we've been working at this point 3 days on. We've been building a ship for at least just coming up on 3 days at that point, and we're worried that this stupid alpha's wolf is going to kill it. So they put out a notice saying, "Hey, here's some updates that are coming. Supposedly, it's supposed to be tonight. We're not going to have alphas on this one, on this type of the lawless servers."
By the way,
which couldn't come soon enough.
This game is not for the light of heart. It is the amount of resources. We probably put 15,000 wood into this boat, probably 10,000 thatch, and maybe
I gave up last night. It was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I'm just like, I just need to make one more plank. I put one more plank down. I was like, all right, I gotta go to bed.
The planks
I just can't do
were
anymore.
460 wood, 400 some odd thatch, and 200 fiber, something like that. And we needed 20 of them.
We did it a lot.
Yeah. I did not want to be playing last night, and I was like, all right, I'll swim over to the island one more time and get like 400 wood just one more time. But here's the thing, we're having fun doing it. So we'll put that aside. All right. So fast forward to today. Today's the day. everybody's on. By the way, we had 10 people
But the
playing.
last, yeah,
We had 10 people playing, which is clearly people are interested in this game. We had 10 active people playing. So Brian is our captain, and we finally decide after all of this that we are going to take our boat, and after building all of it, tens of thousands of pieces of wood, we are finally going to let this ship go, and not let it go. We're going to release it from its
maiden voyage.
seaport, and we're going to let it go on its maiden voyage here. And I'll play the video on the screen now for the podcast audience. Brian, this is probably one of the best feelings I've ever had. When we put these sails down and this ship started moving in the direction in which we wanted to move. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it was like, holy
First
crap.
of all, we were really nervous because Green Man put the platform for building the ship facing the wrong way. So it was facing the land. And we were really nervous that we wouldn't be able to turn the ship around, or that it would instantly destroy the second that we released it. So we were able to get it in the water. We turned it around. We dropped the sails, and we're off.
And
so you got to
here
think, we knew this whole time we're building this, we knew that this was placed the wrong way.
But it was
we
too
were
late.
we were so committed 3 days in at that point that there was just no chance of swapping it back. So we just started sailing out. We're like, we're going to go and we're going to find some island. We have yet to find an empty island.
Yeah,
The first island we went to, there was like 6 or 7 ships around it. There's claim flags everywhere. Yeah, it was just, but I mean, it is an epic feelings going. Now, Nick, you logged off to go out and do some things with your family.
I got to tell you, it's my mother's birthday, and I was like, I forgot when we scheduled this show. Her birthday's the day after Christmas. I was thinking, I was like, yeah, we'll do the show the day after Christmas. And then I was like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? So I had to go out to dinner. Yes.
So we came across an island that looked like there weren't, there were some little rafts around it and things like that, but we didn't really see any people. So we're going through and we're like, oh, we see some rafts and things like that. We're going to move on. So we keep going past it. All of a sudden, I don't know did they send you that video?
No, I didn't get sent anything. No.
Okay. So I am sitting there captaining, just driving away. All of a sudden I see what looks like, I don't know, maybe cannonballs or poop or something being thrown in the air. I can't even tell. Like I just see kind of a flicker of something lightly, because I'm in the captain's seat, so I'm farther away. Like I see an overhead view. I just see 2 flickers. And then all of a sudden, a big flame explodes on the deck. And I think it was Joe instantly dies. And I'm like, that's weird. Is someone on the ship? Like, what just happened? And then I see some guy running around below us, starting to kill all of us. Within less than 30 seconds, our ship was taken over. They broke the door. Within 30 seconds, they broke the door, went down and destroyed our bed.
What?
Within 30 seconds.
Oh my God. All that time we put in making that damn structure, and they destroyed that thing in 30 seconds?
A door going down there, less than 30 seconds for them to destroy it and get below. I was like, is this what this game is going to be? I mean, we just spent 3 days building this ship, and you're telling me that it can't last 30 seconds? Like, we didn't even have time to respawn once to defend our ship. I guess they had flown in. I don't know if they had. He says door was not gone through. We don't even know how they did it. Maybe because of the flames.
Huh.
It was probably the fire that destroyed.
The fire destroyed the bed. I have no idea.
So I guess they didn't go downstairs. I don't know how they got in those, because we had it to where I put it on full blast forward. I guess because everybody died, it just stopped.
Yeah, probably.
He says, yeah, I set a pin code on something. Someone says that the door wasn't locked. Does it say locked there?
It does. I think it said locked.
I thought it said locked.
It does say locked.
So the door was locked.
Yeah, wood door locked. Yeah, it was locked.
Okay, the door was locked.
Fake news. We got the tape to prove it.
They killed us all. They killed us all and killed all the people that were sleeping below within 30 seconds. And there was nothing we could do. Like, we couldn't spawn back. There was a bed. See, the bed was there. It was underneath.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just skipping around to show some other scene.
No, you're fine. So then we were like, okay, great. we just spent all the whole week on this,
Mhm.
and now we have nothing. You know, we have dinghies. I mean, we have our little rafts kind of spread out. So they did a mission, and that's where there is a video of them recapturing a ship, because the way that it works is they can put a claim. If we don't come back and gain control of it again within 10 hours, the ship becomes theirs.
Yeah.
So what we did is we were able to get back on, grab our ship, and we drove it off. But I am concerned. Like, do we need to make everything metal? We definitely need to make everything metal if we can. Like, whatever the strongest building material is, how do we stop it to where fire doesn't instantly destroy a bed underneath in
I have
the
no
floor?
idea.
In the fact that they were there was no ship anywhere close to us. How did they fly in like cannonballs? I told you I just saw a flicker and they were in our rafting. Like they were above us somehow.
Hmm.
Instantly. Nothing, there was nobody within range. We were so far out. How did they instantly get on our boat? Either
So
they're cheating or there's some crazy mechanic like they're flying in or shot themselves with a cannon. I have no clue.
so here's this is and here's the thing. We no I don't think anybody really knows what the hell the whole how this game is going to play out because it hasn't been out long enough. So um my concern is it took us so long to build this boat, and we
Mhm.
saw in our little travels many boats that were sunk.
Yes.
How, like, what I'm trying to understand, and I asked our group and we don't know, are we supposed to build a land base and then the boat is kind of ancillary to it? Is the boat our base? I don't know.
It's not really clear. I thought we could just live on the ocean and go from
But you
place to
can't.
place, but it doesn't seem like that.
Well, the
They
reason you
instantly broke our
it's
things.
not even that. The fact that your resources deplete instantly, you are constantly vitamin deficient when you're out at sea. I don't know what the end goal is supposed to be. I think now the goal is to build a ship port and put dinosaur walls and gates around it and just take your ship out when you want to do stuff, and the rest of the time you're in this thing. I think, but I don't know because the boats do not seem. And here's the thing: they shouldn't be non-destructible, but I mean,
It needs to
took
be
us.
more difficult than that. Like
It took us
they
literally
were
two.
instantly on us.
It took us literally 2.5 days to build this boat. 2.5, like 6 or 8 hour sessions of multiple people gathering resources to build this boat, and it seems like it can be gone instantly, like just destroyed
Yeah.
instantly. How do they deal
If
with
they
that
would have sat
balance?
there and just hammered away at it, they could have destroyed it before we got back.
So that's my question to you, Brian. If they had destroyed that boat, do you think you'd play the game again? I don't
No,
think I'd play it.
I was about ready to say that's it.
Yeah, because at least for this time, at least for right
I
now,
mean, for a while.
I don't foresee. If that boat had been lost, I don't think I would have played again right for the time.
I'm not going to spend 3 days again this week for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it
Getting
ain't
my ship
happening.
back.
It ain't happening.
And other than that, what's there to do? If you don't have a ship, like what is there to do?
And that's what's a little bit weird about this game. Now, by the way, the sailing mechanics are epic. It runs for an Arc game. Well, coming from Arc, it runs incredibly well. The sailing in Arc was like a joke. Like, it didn't work. You were constantly crashing the raft. They have
Yeah.
really perfected the sailing, which obviously is, of course, it's a sailing game. But it's very cool how you sail. The pilot steers it. You need people to put the sails up and down. It's very, very cool how it plays out. There's a lot of good stuff. I just don't know what you're supposed to do. Is that fair?
Part of this is kind of yes. Part of this is kind of a make your own adventure, but the problem is when there's no rules, there needs to be some limitations so that everything isn't broken immediately. Because we really, if we're going to make all this and go out on the sea, like you know that when you play Ark, you can make a metal base, you can put a bed in the base, and generally, unless you leave the door open and let someone walk in and destroy that bed, you're pretty safe. And this is only a couple days into this game actually being released. My concern is no one should be to the point to where they're super, super strong and can instantly kill everybody in a ship. Like Ark, people that are really, really strong, like it took a while to tame those dinos. There was a period, it took a while to get to that point to where you were super strong and could destroy everyone else. Here, I mean, we had guys that did it instantly. I mean, they didn't even have anything. They didn't have anything special. There was just them however they got on our ship, and like a musket. I don't know what they had. They were shooting flaming arrows. Those are way overpowered
Yeah, way OP.
because since it killed everyone on our deck pretty much, and broke everything below decks, one arrow. How's that work? Like that's just they need to. It's going to come down to tuning, but it's frustrating being here day one where you can't run. Like if you want to have the full experience, you're not going to run on a private server. Um, Short of playing PVE, I mean that would be the only way to get around it and just experience the game. But you want to have some PvP. But it's sad that we had to sit there and work through all these initial bugs, imbalance of mechanics. Because right now, I think it's just they need to balance the mechanics. They need to make it to where you feel like you actually last more than 30 seconds when someone, sneaks onto your ship. They
Yeah.
don't just shoot one flaming arrow and instantly everybody's dead.
I I don't know, man. I've had a lot of fun playing the game, but the amount of resources and time that we put into building this first boat and to to to, to see that it was like able to be overcome
I
and
was pissed.
taken. Oh, I would have been. Thank God I wasn't playing.
I was sitting there. I was regretting coming back onto the show, having that in the back of my mind
Yeah,
because we hadn't like right before the show, they hadn't quite gotten it back yet.
yeah, because
I
we
was I was like, I'm gonna have a sour like
no.
vision in my mind of the game. I was mad. Like I was
Hey,
just like,
Brian, read those Miscreated notes. No, I don't
I
want
don't
to read
want
them.
it.
But
You know what I'm
that
saying? But that whole thing of all that work gone instantly, like I was just, and that's what they were trying to do. They were just trying to ruin our day.
and they
I
success.
understand that. I understand that you want to do that. That some people want to do that, but you need to, as a developer, make it difficult for trolls to ruin your day. This is not Rust. We don't want it to be Rust. There needs to be some protections.
There are a
And I
lot.
understand the towers. There was a protection in there. Our ship was not taken, so that is a protection. But it shouldn't be the battle's instantly over.
There is a lot of really the game has got a lot of stuff going really good for it. I am based again. What I'm saying right now and what I will be saying next week after. Well, I don't know how much I'm going to play between now and next week. Over the next couple weeks, as we play the game more, as we learn more, as groups get stronger, as we understand. I say we as a whole group of people. The game's literally been out for 3-4 days, or at this point 5 days, 4 or 5 days. As we understand how to play the game better, things will change. But I am genuinely concerned on what the longevity of this game is going to look like.
Enough people have the experience that we did of having everything instantly broken or like taken over like that. Your average player that doesn't have the support network that we have will just say, "I'm done. That is it. I'm not playing this again."
I just, I don't. So we've got the boat now, right? We went to a couple islands. I just don't know what we're supposed to do next. Do we just float out on the open water? Do we go to islands and just get killed by
Okay,
level
so
300 alpha lions and rexes over and over and over again? I just don't know what to do. I really just don't know.
yeah,
Not
and I
rexes,
understand
lions
like
and wolves.
they've never been they've never really wanted to have a game that has a lot of structure to it. Like, oh, you need to go here.
Yeah.
They haven't done that in the past, but this game is supposedly an MMO. MMOs tend to lead you in directions. This one does not do a good job of that. First of all, the walls of text that they have day one, when you load into the city, everybody's like, how can I get rid of this text? They're not actually reading it. The instructions are so convoluted and in such a poor format that nobody's actually reading the instructions of how to get in there. Um, Also, they have in there, as you said, places that you can claim a base. We don't even know. It's not very clear because all people are doing are setting those big dinosaur gates, what we call them dinosaur gates, around it. Is that the way that you're supposed to do it? Or is there a legitimate way that you protect your base? Like, is that an element of ARC? We're just going to mimic that. Um, but they do have you can hire crew. So you're supposed to go get treasure and then you get coins and then you can hire a crew which will do some of those tasks on your ship. So rather than having to say, okay, lower your sails, it makes it so you can run a ship without having everybody moving around it, which is kind of fun. I
Yeah.
understand it might get kind of frustrating over time, always having to rely on that. But you'll get people that are repairing the ship and maybe even firing cannons and doing all these different things. You can hire a full set of to where you can have one person maybe each ship that are then going to battle with everyone else instead of having everybody on one ship like we were doing. So I guess that is kind of more the end game.
It appears so. I am really looking forward to playing this game more. And Falcon says, I think it was Green Man and Saul that got the boat back. Or maybe it was just Green Man. I'm not sure. He says, in chatting with, as Green Man was telling me, he wouldn't have worked so hard to get it back if the group hadn't put so much time into building it. This is going to sound stupid for people that don't play video games. If somebody else was watching this, would be like, "What? You cared that you lost your virtual boat? like what?" But God, we put so much damn time into these, and everybody did. It's not just us. We're not the special group. These things are incredibly resource intensive, and I just don't know what to do. I don't know what we're supposed to do. So it'll be interesting.
The thing is, we need to get a foundation, like a base, something to fall back on. And then I assume we're going to go try to get some of those coins, but there's no real instructions of, oh, here's what you should do next. And the game's so new, there's no documentation. We were looking up, well, what masts are we even supposed to put on our ship? We're guessing.
Yeah, Brian was looking up pictures of actual like boats, and was like, well, if we look at this, it kind of looks like this sail, and it should be kind of here.
They don't even say, here's the kind of things that you can put on this. Here's the limitations. So we went to go put 3 masts, and it's like, oh no, you can have 3.7. You have 3.7 out of 4.0, whatever that means is where we're at. Like, it's just it's going to be cool. These games are great once you know all the rules, and just like Ark, once you figure out all the rules, then you're like, here's where I can push the limits, and here's what I can have. I can do all these things. We're in that stage to where nobody knows the rules. Nobody knows what the limitations are yet. And it's frustrating when you're in the middle of it, having things possibly disappear because of some stupid rule that you don't know.
Yeah, and that's part of, I think it's inevitable that we will lose that boat at some point. We'll have to start over again.
Dino that dies, like our Carno, our 11-hour tame, or 12-hour tame dino.
Brian killed it when we started playing Ark. We had those stupid plant-eating dinosaurs. And you went swimming with the first one that we tamed and drowned it. And I was pissed. This thing doesn't do anything but eat plants. I don't remember what it was called. It was the starter dino. It's passive. And you went swimming with this thing like a jackass and killed it. And I was like, God damn it. Like our dinosaur. And then that later down the road, we're killing off all of our stuff and it doesn't matter. But this boat is going to hurt when it dies.
Yeah.
The parasaur was what you killed. You went swimming with our parasaur. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Swimming with the parasaur?
Yeah, I tried to make up with it by staying up extra hours to finish that stupid last plank.
Well, I like 3 years later finally paid off.
Yeah, I tried to make up for it.
Yeah. So,
but the thing is we almost lost it in the first hour.
Yeah.
And we haven't even logged out yet. What do we do when we're logging out?
Yeah. What do we do tonight
out there? What do we do? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think you're supposed to make a dock, but I don't know. Like, I think you're supposed to build a big enclosure, but I don't know how
protected? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, that's a serious thing.
Got in 30 seconds. All someone has to do is say, "Oh, here's a boat sitting here."
They've got a lot of, again, it's got a lot of good mechanics. It's got a lot of good potential, but until people know how to play the game correctly, I put correctly in quotes, you just kind of try it out. And it's inevitable that we'll end up losing that boat for some reason or another until we figure out how to do it correctly. But maybe it is building a big ship port around it and blocking it off. I don't know. But I thought the game was supposed to be almost played exclusively on water. That was from the... You want to watch the expectation versus reality trailer?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's pull that
up.
You
have the guy's channel name? I want to give credit to the guy that at least uploaded. I don't know.
Yeah, so this is Blackbird.
Perfect. So he put this video online. This is Atlas trailer versus reality. It's a couple minutes long. Sorry for the audio listeners, but it's a fun thing to watch. So we'll play this. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about Atlas, and we'll wrap up our Christmas program.
Good. When we're gonna be in the raft, it looks so good.
Listen serious, everybody in Uganda must kung fu. The movie's on, the movie's on, the movie's on. The tiger is in the cage.
What the fuck is that? It's a shark, dude!
Russell.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's
Hello?
Now you're gonna see, this is how we do action in Uganda.
We need his hide, kill it.
What the heck? Whoa. This is serious, everybody. Run! Rapid gunfire! Uganda! Let me stop the reactions. Movie, you have to watch. Mafia! I'm a commander. He's hit. Hello? Commander! Tiger Mafia!
Bushes, rocks, and trees. Walk out of the town. Ooh, this mouse sensitivity is out of this world. Fuck! I'm stuck! I'm already stuck!
I mean, my jaw hurts from laughing. I mean, it's just like the Ark expectation versus reality trailer. For the audio listeners, you have got to go back and watch this video. It will be in the show notes, but it's just the trailer shows all these epic battles, and the reality is the guy's driving his raft and it hits something and throws all of them off, tumbles and does 3,600 points worth of damage and explodes. Like, that's it. And all of their stuff is gone. And it's just, it's pretty accurate of what the status of the game is currently like. People just screaming with their microphones on.
What you're running into is when you try to get onto a raft, it would throw you hundreds of feet in the air.
Yeah.
And then, I would just be trying to get on a raft. It would throw me hundreds of feet in the air, and I'd be lucky whether or not I was over water at the time. Because you have a raft that's kind of on shore. Sometimes it would launch and throw me in the shore, and then I would die. Or I happen to land in water, and it's like, oh, that was close. So
it's been an interesting couple days. I think that's about it. It's been an interesting couple days. Atlas is out. It's on sale. It's on sale. It's $25, I think, or $27, $25,
I'd say
$24,
definitely
something like
worth
that.
$25 though.
Buy it. I mean, if you have any interest in playing
You ever
this
played
game,
Ark and you liked it?
it's worth.
Okay,
It's
so
worth.
we have we have experience with these devs with Ark. We remember day one being very similar.
Mhm.
Over time, they continually kept updating it, improving it, and now Ark is a great game for people to play. I have all the faith that they will do the same thing here. The thing that is different is I'm assuming that they will expand upon this, and since it's kind of an MMO rather than doing DLCs, I'm not sure what they'll do. As far as continuing to improve the game and move it beyond this. Maybe so. Do you think they'll do different maps? I mean, part of the danger here is these guys never wipe. I mean, that is the Arc dev way. They will never, never, never wipe. So they copy and pasted. Here's been a lot of the arguments is they pretty much copy and pasted a lot of the island segments. Are you telling me that because they'll never wipe because they don't want to destroy anybody's base or anything, that they're never going to improve those? They're never going to make them more unique, continue to add to those?
Is it possible that they can destroy structures and not boats? Because
But
that's
the problem is if they redo any of the land shape, they're going to destroy a base.
what my point is.
Awesome.
Could they destroy bases and not boats? It seems like,
Oh yeah,
again,
they could.
making the assumption that the boat is the main thing you have and not the base. That could be totally wrong. Maybe this is not a boat driving game. Maybe it's a base that you've got, and then you also have a boat. But I don't really know
Yeah,
yet.
because you saw there like they showed those big castles and stuff that you could build. I mean, it's pretty much an arc.
But those show those big castles are right next to each other. That's never going to happen. You're not going to two groups aren't going to let each other build massive castles next to each other. I mean, come on. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
You'll have one group per island that controls and kills everybody else. Realistically. I think
Yeah.
you may have two. I don't know.
I mean, I would love to make one of those really big ships. Get the things on there. That'll be the interesting thing is what do you do after you have the biggest ship and you have the crew for it? Do you just ride around blowing people up? Is there some other bigger game to it than that? I mean, there's those big bosses which we haven't seen yet. Is that the end game? And similar to Ark, how many people really go and ever do the bosses in Ark? I mean, very few people have ever even seen the end game in Ark. Is that what they expect here? That there's going to be 1% of people that actually see the end game? I kind of have a feeling that they're fine with that. They're not trying to push you to the end.
No, I don't think so. I want to end with this, Bruno. Summit has been a large topic. He's a good follow on Twitter. He is so popular and so successful. He can say whatever the hell he wants, and the developers will still kiss his ass, which is not a
Yeah.
bad thing. I'm just saying he's so influential.
Well,
He
in
can
my-
say anything, and it doesn't matter. So he tweeted out a couple days ago. Everyone still uses the early access excuse for a game being bad. If they wanted to test, then they should have had a free-to-play weekend, not charge $25, then have Doofuses defend it. It's early access testing, Summit, in quotes. He's talking about Atlas, and he's talking about the fact that the game is broken as shit, and their excuse, not even their excuse, they're not making excuses, but the excuse is it's early access. And he is saying that it's not acceptable. He went on and tweeted a couple of other tweets about this. When he went on to talk about how I think people have just had enough of that, right? That's not really an acceptable excuse anymore. I want to get your thought. We've talked about that in the past, and it's nice to see somebody like Summit, who the developers all kind of look at and say, well, if he's playing our game, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
If they start talking, if I say they, I mean the influential people, the influential streamers, and want to start echoing this and say, hey guys, you got to finish your damn game before you start charging people for it, and then go, whoops, none of it works.
Well, and that's a lot of the issue of what we've run into recently, especially people are kind of over I'm testing your game for you over the next 2 years, because that's what it ended up being. People thought, oh, I get to be original way that they cast this situation was, oh, I get to be a part of the development process. I get early access to the game. I get to be a part of this being made. But then you run into, I have bugs and problems for 2 years, and then maybe the game will be released. Maybe they'll eventually fix it, or maybe they'll just stop caring and they'll never work on it anymore. Um, People got tired of that. I mean, if you look, when's the last time you saw a game? I mean, have you seen a game in the last 6 months, really, that for Kickstarter that
No, I mean,
successfully
no,
kickstarted?
not that you've been not in our genre that you've brought up to me. No.
And if you look in the past, there was a summer where there was all kinds of kickstarted games going on. You want to know probably how many of those games that I kickstarted that actually released or were anywhere near expectation? Um, Maybe one.
Huh.
I think maybe. I kickstarted a number of games. One was supposed to be a survival dinosaur game where you were dinosaurs and there was all these cycles
Oh
and
yeah,
so it was like
I remember that.
that one. I have that and it's really gone nowhere. Okay, let's jump onto this one really quick. Islands of Nine. I kickstarted that. They put out a notice this week
Yeah.
saying, "All right, we have a notice on the future of Islands of Nine Battle Royale," and they're pretty much ceasing development on the game now. They're going to keep the servers up for now, but they're not doing any fixes or changes to it, which means that some bug, hacking bug, is going to make its way into there, and it's pretty much going to be a dead game. Um, they're not removing it from Steam for now, but eventually they're going to not want to host those servers. That's a game that I kickstarted. It had promise, went nowhere. There was a game that I did that wasn't a survival game, put out by a big company. You know what? What they promised on Kickstarter versus what the end game actually was, nowhere near each other. Like I didn't even recognize the game that came out, and I played it, but I was like, this is not what they promised. That's what they expect. That's what almost every game that's come out of Kickstarter ends up being. So I think people realize that after a couple of years of it being the way it was, and because it took a little while for people to realize, for the development and see, oh, people aren't delivering. People aren't delivering. Now, ones that did deliver would be, 7 Days to Die. I would say they've delivered probably on what they promised, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd agree.
they've done a good game. Um, what's the one that what's the one I always bring up that's
Zero.
no, there's the one that's with the really cold world. I actually
The
have
Long Dark.
the Long Dark. Long Dark was one who I think exceeded expectations on a Kickstarter. But other than that, I think you would really struggle to find many games that came out of Kickstarter that actually went anywhere or delivered on what they promised. I can't think of any others. So I just think that we're past that. Like people are tired of it. They don't want to deal with that anymore. They want a game that works.
Well,
I think here Arc is going to imagine how many people have refunded and they've lost. I mean, they've got a lot of people playing, but I think a lot of people are like, I'm not going to play this until it's stable. Maybe they'll come back and
what
play
is their
it.
Steam rating? Let's take a look. I'm curious on who they're currently.
Yeah, Shadowrun is one who delivered.
Mostly negative
but-
reviews.
Yeah.
They have 12,158 reviews. Only 27% of them are positive out of 12,000 reviews.
Yep.
That's pretty nuts.
And so that's the thing is people are less forgiving now. I mean, we look at Just Survive. People were okay. I mean, like we put up with a lot with that game. And I think now I don't know that we would have put it up with it again. I don't think today's age, if it was all over again with all the other games that are on the market, I don't know that we would have sat through all that just bugginess. We're doing it kind of right now, but if it doesn't change, we're not going to sit through 6 months of it. We sat through a long time of it.
Can I just read a run review off Steam? I know this is your segment, but I'm gonna. I want to read this review. This guy has reviewed one. He said, "Disclaimer: This is my first time ever reviewing something." But he's got 50 hours in this game, which means he's literally been playing it almost nonstop since it came out. As the time of this review, I've played the game 43 hours. Some enjoyment, massive disappointments with bugs, but really poor design decisions. The TLDR is a host of massive issues with no hope of being fixed soon, and if these issues are fixed, the game has massive potential. Just don't expect that for months or even years still. And then it goes on to a full review of how the game is not playable right now. Don't expect to be able to enjoy the game. Some of these reviews, I've skimmed through a couple of them now. A lot of them seem like there's a lot of, I feel like I'm reading Fallout reviews, or it's just like, oh my God, the game is like not even playing. Like, I mean, I bought Fallout 76. Is it the greatest Fallout ever? No. Is it unplayable? No. I mean, it's a Fallout game. There's no NPCs. It's not like Fallout 4, Fallout 3, but it's a playable game. But I think there are some.
Okay, but here's the issue though. Imagine now this is similar to Fallout. We could say, oh, we'll come back and play this game later. We'll let it mature. We'll come back. But because there's not a realistic way to run private servers on this, and are they ever going to put out more North America #2 in the future? I mean, if they don't get over 40,000 players per instance, I don't know why they would. I don't know if there's a good time to come into it later, because we're then going to be coming into a world that has people with hundreds of boats, and it's just going to be crazy. Like, how can you walk into this game later?
Well, that's the problem. You can't. I mean, you've kind of got to be, and that's, I think, why we've spent so much time over the past couple of days building up, because Ark is the same way. You snooze, you lose. If you're not there at the beginning of the game, you might as well not bother playing. And we learned that with Ark. We learned that real quick with Ark. We thought we were all high and mighty with our base, and it turns out the groups that had been playing for months before us came in and wiped us clean in a matter of 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. Wiped everything we had.
3 months of progress.
Yeah, instantly gone, annihilated.
And that's the danger. Is this going to be that exact same thing? And if it is, like, where are you going to go? I mean, you go to a PvE server. I guess that's the only option. If you want to continue enjoying the game, I mean, there will be a point when a new person can't really come on and play by them, create a group like what we did and go on here. Cabby says that's PvP. You have to defend yourself, but there will be a point where the servers are so built up that there's just no way that a new person could start and even compete, just like they do on some of the official servers that have been there for a long, long time.
Do you need to run quickly, or can I ask you a question?
Nope, go ahead.
All right, you brought this up to me, and now I want to bring it back to you now, and I want you to elaborate. You mentioned to me the reason Ark has still got so much success is because of its private server longevity. There are people still playing Ark because there are private servers that groups of people are playing on in a private, closed environment. I'm not saying it's not PvE or PvP, but it's a closed environment. They don't have to worry about hackers on the public servers or groups from China on public servers transferring Arks with 30 dinosaurs and wreaking havoc. They don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Can you do that in Atlas? And if not, can it have a sustainable player base?
Well, part of the issue, what's kept Ark alive are having servers that have accelerated gather rates. That's what's made people able to handle and enjoy playing that game. Here, I don't know exactly. They have to where you can host a private server. I don't know how in the world they're going to make that work, because we listed off there's 250 servers.
You can only host 3 ports at this point.
So you pick 3 ports, and it's just going to be you guys running around, and those aren't that big. I mean, those islands, you're just going to have, maybe there might be 3 islands per block that aren't gigantic islands. So you can have 3 of those, and that's your little group's play area. That is the issue, is you cannot mimic the experience on a private server that they're doing, and they won't have the option for accelerated gathering and whatever, all these things that people enjoy doing. They won't have that for the main game. So once people get tired of it, you're going to have your however many tribes, if you want to call them that kind of run the server, and then no one else gets to play. I mean, that's what it comes down to. People will come in and, kind of like what we did, play for a little while. That group says, all right, you're done. And then they'll stop playing, but there's not going to be a place for us to fall back onto. I mean, we have people that play on private servers. We host 5 servers of Ark.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Pick a corner of this game and say, hey, this is our playground? That's not going to be nearly as fun. It's not the same. They can't
Yeah.
they can't replicate it. That's the problem.
And Falcon is saying this game is PvE. What's the point? And I disagree completely. And I know for a fact other people disagree because
It's a mix. I mean, the thing is so for some people, Arc is PvP.
oh,
That's
talking
all
about
it is.
Atlas.
I know, but I'm
Oh,
saying
okay,
for
yeah.
some people, Arc is purely PvP. Other people, Arc is purely PvE. They enjoy the building, they enjoy the dinosaur taming, they enjoy other elements of it. Here, they're not giving you a choice. I mean, they're giving you a choice. It's either fully one or the other, and you can't have any of it. If you're a PvE player, you can't have any PvP at all.
I
They
misread
need to
his
come up with
statement.
a way. Maybe do zones of letting people go and do PvP in specific areas. That would be a good compromise.
Yeah, and I misread his statement. He said this game as PvE. What's the point?
Oh yeah, as
But
PvE.
but nevertheless, there are people. There are Steam reviews in here of people talking about the game needing to be PvE only, and I just don't think that is the solution. But maybe it's a timed rating period. Maybe
Yeah, they need to come up with
I
something
just
to
don't
where
know.
like offline, kind of like what they've done in Arc, the offline base rating protection. They need that because, as we said, what do we do tonight? We can't be on our ship all the time.
There's a
Is it just gonna be
possibility that there
floating
will
out there?
be. There's a possibility that it's gone in the morning. Like that's just, that's
Yeah. All they need is 10 hours of us going to sleep. Now, did you see the message that
I did.
Joe had?
Yeah, they're doing an update tonight. Let me get the verbiage from their form. They're changing the boat stealing with claiming. So they're adjusting the base value times to claim boats to be 1 minute to steal a dinghy, which is the little boat that's on the boat that we've got.
So if you
30
walk
minutes to
away
steal
to go loot something for 1 minute, they can steal it.
essentially 30 minutes to steal a raft, a couple of hours to steal a sloop, and so forth. So probably 5 or 6 hours to steal the boat that we've got right now.
So what can you never sleep?
Leveling a ship increases the time that it takes to steal that ship. I have no idea. It looks like our boat that we spent 2.5 days building can be taken over in 5 hours.
To be gone in the morning.
Yeah.
That's just how do you do it? People cannot be on protecting their base all the time. I mean, you can't. You can't.
That's why I'm asking if there's going to be any longevity, because eventually this shit's going to get real old.
Yeah,
like-
that's the thing is I think they're going to go in and make a lot of changes because they're going to realize right now they're all like, oh, this is just the way it is. They haven't put in changes that they expect to. But you know that this is not going to be realistic. People are just going to constantly have their boats taken every night, and that you can't do that. Like this takes too long to make one to have it gone in 6 hours.
I mean, I'm interested in what they're going to do about it. I'll tell you what, I've had fun over the past couple of days. If it's all gone tomorrow, it's going to suck, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But there's got to be something they've got to figure something out here, because there's no way any player base is going to stay for any period of time with 30 minutes to steal a raft. I mean, we've got rafts all over the place.
Yeah. And 30 minutes is not very much time. You couldn't even get to, it takes 30. Okay, let's put this in perspective. It takes 30 hours to cross the map.
Does it really?
Yes.
Wow.
So if you go from one end of the map to the other, it takes 30 hours of real time. You're telling me you're putting these kind of timers. If you go exploring the map for a couple hours, you could have things gone by the time you get back, and you have no choice other than unless you died and tried to get back to it. But they're leaving you with very little choice and very little ability to not have a full-time team sitting in there, which is, there was a time when we did that with H1Z1, but come on. I mean, that's not realistic. We're not going to do that over months and months.
No, exactly. So
And I have no interest in doing that right now.
no, I no, Frank. I mean, I'm kind of burnt out. Frankly, I'm a little bit burnt out right now, playing it just the past couple of days so much. I mean, I'm not saying I'm over the game, but it's just like Jesus. I don't want to do it anymore. Like we did it. We put all the time into making the thing. I don't want to deal with it anymore. So we'll see. They have got an uphill road ahead. The communication has been awful. The launch was a total disaster, total PR disaster. And
Well,
I'm
part
excited.
of the issue is their community manager was silent so much up to this. Now he's gotten very vocal in the last couple days, last 2 days,
Yeah.
post launch. But I was saying in our Discord, like he should be every 15 minutes saying, "Hey, here's what's causing," or at least once saying, "Hey, here's what's causing our delay." Were so just generic about what the problem was. That's what was frustrating people. Not that the delay happened, but the fact that they wouldn't talk about what was even causing. Some people just want to hear, you know what, we're running into an issue with authentication and it's not properly putting people on the servers that they're supposed to go on. Whatever it was, give it that level of detail answer, and people will say, you know what, I understand. I can't really play the game when it's working like that, so I'm willing to wait. They never did that. And so, how many times have we heard community managers say for companies, "Oh, we need to be more transparent." We heard it tons and tons. I get sick and tired of hearing it. There should be a playbook. Go and read the playbook of how to be a community manager. You know what? The first thing it'll say is communicate, because that is your job. It's what they're supposed to do. And it's weird that so many of them have so much trouble just communicating day one.
I want to thank Izzy Trippin for the subscription here during the program. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I think that's a good stopping point. I don't really have anything else to say.
I'll list off what's going to be in the patch notes if you want to go onto our website. Fortnite had an update. Of course, I talked about Islands of Nine. We're going to have to get into this next week because I think Alpha 17 has been released for 7 Days to Die.
It has.
And so there's a long list. We cannot get into it now.
You don't have another 2 hours? What do you mean?
Yeah. So we'll get into that some next week, I'm sure. Talking about the Alpha 17 update for 7 Days to Die. New World had some information they put out regarding construction of fortresses. PUBG, they put out a lot of information on their Vikendi map. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit next week. ROE put out a lot of updates. Of course, they're not based out of the US. And so for them, they just worked all through Christmas, not even worrying about it. They put out a lot of updates in the last couple of days. Conan Exiles put out a patch. Zira put out patch notes for that, for his alpha, for 0.2.1. Scum put out a update. Also put out a Christmas video. I don't know if you want to play the Christmas video since it will not be relevant next week.
For what game?
For Scum, they have a video for Christmas.
No,
I don't play it. How long is it?
I don't think I pulled this video. Sorry.
Okay,
grab it.
Yeah, whatever. And then the Black Masses, we have a thing for their some information on it for Steam. If you want to go and look into that, that's an upcoming game.
Yeah, let me get this video real quick.
Okay. Yeah, because Scum, they put out a Christmas event where they put out a lot of specific things for Christmas. That's one of those games that I think they've gone silent on just because they don't want to be the ones that are, they don't want it to be a DayZ to where all this talk but no deliver. I think that these guys have been putting up pretty consistent updates, adding content to it. So I have a little bit of faith in Scum personally.
Oh, as do I. This damn video will load. All right, this is the Scum Merry Christmas video.
Bodies falling all around me. I'm so crazy, but I'm having fun. There's no reason for love and understanding. Still, Merry Christmas, everyone. No time for parties, just salvation. I'll be killing all night long. I'm just a peasant, digging ditches. No time for singing Christmas songs. We're gonna have a slaughter tonight. I'm gonna find that scumbag underneath the mistletoe. He'll kiss my baseball bat. Blood is squirting, bones are cracking, making sounds that I love it. All I wish is to be left alone. Yeah, that'd be a nice Miscreated in the year. We're gonna have a slaughter tonight. I'm gonna find that scumbag underneath the mistletoe. He'll kiss my baseball bat. Yellow snowing all around. I'm so crazy when I'm having fun. There's no reason for love and understand. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, everyone. And have a happy new year.
All right, Brian. Oh, Brian's headphones just died as we wrapped that up. So there's the Scum Merry Christmas video. They're an interesting group over there. I wasn't expecting that.
They're unique.
Video. Yeah,
There's some things that they posted that we can't even share on here.
That's true. Yeah,
because it's not something that we could stay on Twitch on and show. They're unique, but hey, that was something. They're going for a very specific feel.
Yep.
And I think that they'll have a good niche audience. It'll cater to more people, but they're definitely putting a lot of work and are putting a lot of thought into their game, which I appreciate. And I think they just need to have more time. And I feel like they're not pushing, oh, you need to play on us. They're just putting out content. I think they're going to be the closest to doing what Conan did.
Yeah, that
as far as having something like, oh, have you played it in a while? Come back and try it out. And then you're going to have a lot of stuff. Base building, a lot of vehicles, like all that stuff will be in there. And then you'll be like, oh, this is worth playing. And people will start playing it.
And we're looking forward to it. I think a lot of people own it and are just kind of waiting. All right, quick current players. Not going to do a whole big thing here, but I'll cover 2 games. Miscreated, currently playing 1,107, the 24-hour peak 1,773, and the 7-day peak 21,130. So a couple hundred more players from pre 1.0, but they're not extravagant numbers. So we'll see what comes of that. And Atlas, here we go, Brian. Currently playing right now, 41,910 players, and they hit their 7-day, 24 hours, 7 day. It's all the same. The game hasn't been out a week. They hit it 5 hours ago, and it was actually their all-time peak as of since the game has been out. 53,146. So they've pulled in they had over 50,000 people playing concurrently in the first 5 days of the game being out. So pretty impressive if you ask me, but they've got a long way to go.
I hope that players kind of die off on this game because right now there's too many people, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of hard to say. I mean, it's tough to say that, but there's too many people playing the game right now to where just everywhere you go. I think once it kind of balances out to maybe, you have 20,000 people across all those servers playing, that'll be the right balance to where there are maybe islands that you can claim and you can go for it. Just right now, everywhere you go, there's people, because there's 50,000 people playing.
Yeah.
So is that it for your segment? I
Yeah,
want to make
yeah.
sure that
I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm not going to go with anything else. Those 2 are the games that we're talking about.
All right, cool. So let's go and talk about tip of the week. That's where I'll talk about maybe a general gaming tip, but this week, since we're playing a lot of it, Atlas. So this is tip of the week. All right. So in Atlas, one thing that isn't immediately obvious, but there are multiple ways to view your map in game. First of all, most people do it by pressing M, and it brings up what seems like kind of like a lower detailed map. It's a map that you hold up. You've got a compass on the right, and you kind of take a look at it. But there's a better way to view the map in game, and that's if you pull up your inventory, and then you'll see a button that says Atlas on the upper right. You go to view that, and that is a higher detailed map, and you can actually move around it, see things in a much clearer manner. And other things that you can do, though, if you'd like, is you can go and pull up the map on their website, and that's map.playatlas.com. And this one has the whole map. It doesn't show you grids, so you kind of have to work to find where you're at on this map. But you will notice that there's little colored dots all over this map. And then on the left, upper left, there's tribes. I mean, from what I've gathered, they haven't put out a lot of information on this, but this seems to be the tribes, and I think their claims, from what I can tell. Certain tribes have just put claims all over the place. Um, and, I don't know if this is what you're supposed to do, but, there's people that just put claim flags. I think this is probably what you're supposed to do. If you want to claim an island, you have to put claim flags all over it. And then that is your island. And so you see them doing this. It kind of gives you an idea of where they're at. Of course, if you do that, then you'll show up on this thing and people will know, hey, these people are on this island, so I'm going to go to this island and I'm going to attack them. You're kind of opening yourself up to that possibility. And so that's up to you. There is another option if you'd like to go to a third-party site. If you go to game-maps.com, don't do /Atlas. Go to game-maps.com, and then what you want to do is click on Atlas, because they have a map on there that they've made, and it has more details. So it shows the grid. It's interactive, lets you find things a little bit better. And that is kind of like a third-party site that you can do to be able to view the map. And especially if you know the coordinates that you're in, you say, oh, I know I'm in this part of the map. You can pull that up, find the areas, and maybe plan where you're wanting to go. Now, it doesn't show you those claims. I don't know if there'll be a way for them to add that later, but it is a little bit better way to view the map. So, and if we come up with any more, I'll let you know. But those are the primary ways that I've seen so far for finding information where you're going and maybe planning going to a special island. So that is tip of the week.
All right. You could probably do like a tip per week for Atlas. You could probably do a tip a day on Twitter for Atlas. We're learning everything. We're learning a whole bunch of stuff every time we play. So,
well, this is one that you suggested. You're like, hey, you should do that for tip of the week. So
I didn't even realize nobody knew about it. I was using it, and then everyone's like, how the hell do you know where this is? I'm like, it's in the Atlas menu.
Click,
like,
I realized, well, this is a better looking one. So I just open up that almost every time.
Yeah, I didn't know people didn't know. I guess that's why it's tip of the week. Brian, you're doing a real community service. We appreciate it.
Yep. Just trying to make the gaming world better one day at a time, one tip at a time.
All right. Well, that's one way to do it.
So for the game giveaways, what we'll do is everybody that entered, I will just give a game to. So rather than this, we had 8 people that entered, so I will give games to all of them, and then we'll go from there. So just expect a message. I'll have it send messages through Twitch. Check it out, and then we'll put a link. So I've just got to go through and randomly pull out some games.
Alrighty.
Except for I'm going to give Joe a visual novel.
Perfect.
Have that one.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Get rid of that one. It's a Christmas miracle. Yes, everybody wins games. How wonderful. All right, Brian. Well, Merry Christmas, and thanks for working on working with the reschedule, doing the show on a Wednesday, and I want to thank you and your wife for putting in probably 8 hours apiece in Atlas yesterday.
We'll see if she's up for a little more tonight. Yeah, she enjoyed it.
She had a good time playing.
She wanted to play today, but she's like, I got to go to work. So
yeah, work schmurk.
She'll probably play a little bit more tonight, especially now that we have a boat. We'll have to figure out a way to protect that thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So, if anybody, you're a listener and you want to come and hang out with us and play, jump into our Discord. Tay HD, he came in and joined us today. Barbie joined us today. So, we'll have to put in a lot of work together to protect everything. And this is one of those games that you need to continue, otherwise everything goes away. So, the joys of it. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, you can check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Make sure you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, especially if you want to jump into game and join us. Up on the right-hand side there, click join our Discord server. Also, we have our Steam group if you want to get notifications of our live show. If you want to find our video forms, maybe you're an audio-only listener, we have a link to our YouTube channel. We have a link to our Twitch, so you can come and check us live during the week. We also have our audio, whatever kind of audio platform you want to listen to us on, we should be listed under there. And then we have all the notes. There's a lot of topics. We listed off the topics that we didn't cover today, but those will all be available. So you just click a link and you can go and see the patch notes for a lot of things that we missed. And so infectionpodcast.com. And make sure we have that last little bit of the Steam sale that's happening for a couple more days, maybe one more day. Make sure that you go in there. If there's a game that you do not have, that you go and take a look, see if there's something that, maybe you want to play, because we do a lot of these for games of the week, and you grab it while it's on sale, because a lot of these are much cheaper, half price many times of what they usually are.
So you've got till January 3rd for that, and that is up on our website. After this episode, it'll be the second post on the website. It's called the 2018 Steam Winter Survival Deals, and it's a whole bunch of games that I went through like 5 or 6 shows worth of notes and looked at all the games that we've talked about, and if it was a game we talked about and it was on sale during the Steam sale, it should have made its way on that list. If it didn't, let us know. We'll post it on. We'll post it up on there. We'll shoot it out on social media. Program. Looks like we may have lost Brian there, but we will go ahead and wrap up the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Infection. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. You can visit our website anytime. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Infection. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully you had a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next week for another episode. Have a great week, everybody.